So let's get into you ran for Congress and your opponent was Adam Schiff. I am so not a fan of him. So brutal. I mean, I know we were talking some about this off mic. I think he is one of the most repulsive people in all of government. And the reason I feel that way is because he has used the past 4 years to make himself this political celebrity. He is, I mean, it's so ironic that he's near Hollywood because he himself is a Hollywood cliche. He's basically just a failed actor who's doing this now. And he would walk over dead bodies in his own district to flap his gums about whatever a CIA talking point he's parroting that week. And he will tell you Trump is this, Trump is that, and Trump is terrible. No one disputes that. Anyone with a pulse knows how terrible Trump is. But here's a guy who has made himself a celebrity by being this so-called resistance hero. Meanwhile, he votes to expand Trump's spying powers every opportunity he gets. He's never seen a war budget he hasn't liked. He's fine with the Patriot Act. He's on the wrong side of basically everything. He'll tell you Trump's enemy number one, but he'll expand his spying powers, fast track his judges. What's he really resisting?
You know, you're right. He is walking over dead bodies. He's walking over dead bodies every day in his district. Homeless people, unhoused people are dying every single day in our city. In the district that, or in the city that he lives in, Burbank, unhoused statistics rose 40% last year. 40%. So he is literally walking over dead people in the streets. You know, the thing about Adam Schiff is, again, a lot of people like him. And a lot of those people don't live in this district. A lot of people see what he's been doing on a national scale. They've been seeing, you know, his involvement in the Mueller report and, of course, the impeachment. And in that manner, it has turned him into a national hero of sorts. A lot of people look at Adam Schiff and they think, oh, my gosh, he's trying to get President Trump impeached. He is my hero. But then if you look at his voting record probably doesn't reflect the kind of America that you want to live in, the kind of district that you want to live in California.
Well, and it goes beyond that. His record doesn't reflect opposing Trump.
And that's,
you know, I mean, other than the most obvious things, but at the end of the day, if you're going to say what a treasonous traitor someone is, and then you're going to allow them to spy with no, you know, restrictions on American citizens, you're either the worst politician ever, or you're just a liar and it's just a scam and you're just a phony. I think he's the latter. He's not a bad politician because he's convinced so many people of this scam, but he's definitely a scam artist. That's why he hates Trump so much. They're both scam artists. They are both con men, and game recognizes game. And I think he is just so utterly despicable because he's preying upon people's hopes. There are people who I think their hearts are in the right place a lot of the times who genuinely believe that he's fighting for them. He's doing the opposite, and he knows what he's doing, and he doesn't care. And he uses it to get money. He will just go and he's like, the Republicans are being mean to me. Give me money. For what, Adam? What are we giving you money for? Your MSNBC appearance?
On that note, exactly. What are you giving money for? So he is, I will agree with you. He might not be a good person, but he is a good politician. And you know, the gag is that his congressional campaign this past year when we ran, he was one of the most well-funded Democrats in the entire nation. His campaign raised about $10 million this election cycle. What does Adam Schiff's campaign need? They already have the name recognition. They already have the seats. It's, again, to continue power. And you know, one of the things that I've just tried to make people aware of is look at his voting record and tell me this is a person that you agree with. You know, he has consistently voted for pretty much every war measure that he has been in since 2000. He voted for the Iraq war. He voted for the Afghanistan war. He voted to keep troops in Afghanistan. He voted for the Saudi invasion of Yemen, which is now the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. He voted to establish the Homeland Security. He voted to establish ICE. And just last summer, he voted to give more than $100 million to ICE. And all of that, when you live in a district that is more than 25% Latinx, it's wrong, it's immoral, and it's not a reflection of the people that live in your district that are voting for you. But he is one of those tricky kinds of Democrats that comes off as a progressive Democrat. He comes off progressive because he is pro-LGBTQIA. He is pro certain things that make him look like he's progressive. But what a lot of people are not checking is his voting record on a lot of these important things like war measures. He increases the military funding every single year. If we were to demilitarize in a way that we just reduced our military funding by 10%, 15%, the things that we could do in this nation with that money are almost endless. You know, we could end homelessness. We could ensure universal education and healthcare. But instead, what are we doing? We are continuing to manufacture weapons and enter war so that all of the donors of the military-industrial complex are seeing their return on investment. And it's so messed up. It's so messed up. And again, these are the things that you start to notice when you really look into an elected official and look at their policy, because the average voter, I don't think, really dives into the voting record of the candidate that they are voting for. It's been reduced to the system of red or blue. Oh, well, I identify blue, I'm just going to vote blue, without even looking into how this person has voted blue. And it's just, I think it's time that people really start to wise up and vote for candidates that will actually reflect their values.
Amen. 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 So when you brought that message door to door, like pointing out that, hey, this guy is not what he poses to be, what kind of response did you get typically?
You know, it was a mixed response. I will say that at the beginning of our campaign, that was the biggest challenge, was just convincing people that we were a legitimate candidate and worthy of running against the mighty Adam Schiff. And I will say that we weren't successful in convincing everybody of that. A lot of people, laughed in my face. A lot of people said, ha ha ha, we need Adam Schiff right now. I'll do anything to keep Adam Schiff in power. And Adam Schiff knows that. And Adam Schiff knows that he has that sort of support. And again, he can support his donors by voting for military efforts, and he can support the general public by being somewhat progressive on certain issues. And I just think it's really messed up. So I will say, though, that by the end of our campaign, we did really, make an impact with voters. We did really make an impact with the people, and it showed in our results. We ran in the primary election, and in California, we have an open primary, which means rather than electing one Democrat and one Republican to the general election, the primary, it's an open primary. So there could be two people of the same party in the right. General election. So my goal in running in this district was, I was looking at our results over the past several election cycles, and Adam Schiff has always won with about 75% of the votes. This district, as of now, since they did the redistricting after the last census, has voted about 75% Democratic. So by me inserting myself in the race, I was not risking losing a blue seat and having it turn red. My goal of running was that I would advance to the general election, and the people of Los Angeles would have the choice between a moderate, centrist, GOP light Democrat or a progressive Democrat. Unfortunately, we lost by only 1,114 votes, less than 1%. And now there is a Republican up against Adam Schiff in the general election. So essentially, it ensures that the status quo will carry on, because Adam Schiff will be reelected this year, just based off of the number of people that vote Democrat in this district. But again, think of the possibilities if we had a moderate and a progressive Democrat. It's actually presenting people with a real choice to reflect their value system and the changes that they want to see both locally and on a federal level. So, ultimately it was disappointing to lose by this much, but at the same time, it was so inspiring to see how our little rinky-dink amateur rookie campaign could come in and get 22,000 votes, lose by less than 1%. And if you look at the money that came into our particular election, I mentioned earlier, Adam Schiff raised almost $10 million for this past election cycle. The person who won, the Republican, raised more than $500,000. You know how much our third place, and by the way, there were 8 people that ran. We came in 3rd out of 8. And we raised only about $10,000 this election cycle. And it just goes to show that people vote not based off of who has the most money, but who's reflecting your values, who's reflecting what you want to see in our government, So I'm super excited to run again. And, I feel like we made an impact, and I hope that I inspired other people to jump in and try to join a race.
Are you going to run for Congress again in the same district, or are you going to do something else next? What do you think?
We haven't made an announcement. We're not going to be announcing until early 2021, but we are planning on running again.
Maybe. Unsolicited advice. You ready?
Yes.
Mayor.
I will say this. I thought about it.
Please, Garcetti's horrible.
Well, Garcetti's horrible, and he's also on his way out. He's termed out right now. So that was one of the reasons I looked into that race, because we're going to have a new mayor in 2022. The question is, who's it going to be? It's not going to be.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize he was termed out. Okay. I did not know that.
So it's probably at this point, it's probably going to be one of his proteges. There are already a number of declared and potential candidates for mayor here in Los Angeles. Right now, I would say probably the leading figure to take over is Mike Feuer. He's the city attorney. But again, he's a Garcetti person. He is very much of the Garcetti dynasty. And I think that LA right now is really fed up with Eric Garcetti. And
I think it's an outsider. There needs to be an outsider candidate who's not part of the Garcetti crew.
And I did think about it, but also I gotta tell you, I'm almost afraid to enter that kind of election just to see the kind of power and forces that come against me. If that makes sense, I
understand. That's what that's why a lot of people never run for office in general.
Yeah. So, and it sounds kind of weird because it's like, oh, I'd rather run for Congress, but I also feel like I would have a bigger impact. The impact that I want to make as a politician is obviously locally, and that's why I'm working locally, but also on a federal level. I want to be able to influence legislation, not just here in Silver Lake, not just here in Los Angeles, not just here in California, but legislation that's going to positively impact all Americans. And I don't think that's a far-fetched idea or dream.
No, it really isn't. Hey, I don't know if you're thinking city council, but you look at someone like a Shama Zuwan, and you look at the impact she has had nationally because of what she's been able to really pioneer in Seattle. If every city had a Shama Zuwan type leader on their city council, we'd have a different country. We just would.
No, I agree with you 100%. In fact, there is a city council candidate that I'm a huge fan of who's running right now in Los Angeles. Her name is Nithya Raman, and she's running for city council here in District 4, which overlaps in Silver Lake. So it cuts into the district that I'm a part of. And I really hope to see her win because she is a true progressive. LA, our LA City Council, there's 15 people, but it's the most powerful city council in the United States. And I tell you that for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're the most well-paid city council members in the US. Secondly, as in terms of how many people per council member they are overseeing, it's also the most. New York City, I don't know, I can't remember exactly how many city council members they have, but I want to say it's somewhere between like 40 and 50. Oh, wow. LA only has 15 city council members. So the number of constituents under each city council member's jurisdiction is huge. So city council members play a huge role in in just the everyday life and laws of so many people that live in the Los Angeles area. I had considered running for city council. The district that I'm running in, however, or the district that I live in, so the person who is the current council member, his name's Mitch O'Farrell. I would love to challenge Mitch O'Farrell. I would love to. In fact, I disagree with a lot of his policies. A lot of his policies are very anti, they work against unhoused people. It's not progressive at all. However, I do know that there are probably a couple of progressive people that are already going to be, excuse me, running for that particular seat. And I would rather not challenge other progressives. I would rather see as many progressives across the board. So that's why I kind of ruled that out. I kind of ruled out mayor. But also we did so well last congressional election. It's like, why not finish it, you know?
All right. We lost you for a split second, but you came back. Okay. Yeah, no worries. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and